Hello students, my name is Cute Kharbanda and I am Assistant Professor in the Department of English, DAV College, Ambala City. In this video lecture, I am going to discuss the title, characterization, plot and various themes of the play Swan Song taken from the book Center Stage prescribed in the 4th semester of BA classes. This lecture is being prepared under the aegis of the Department of Higher Education, Haryana, as part of e-learning program for students of various universities of Haryana. There are certain objectives which this video lecture aims to achieve. First of all is to interpret and form an understanding of the main plot of the play, which means that how the story moves forward and how the characters are formed in front of the reader. So the second point is to develop and understand key characters or the main characters in the play, and there are two main characters. The first major character is Vasily Svetlovidov and the second character is Nikita Ivanich. So as you can see very clearly from the name itself, and obviously because the play is written by Chekhov, that these are Russian characters and it is a Russian play. Thirdly, to understand the meaning and importance of the title of the play. And it is definitely a very important question also as far as this one act play is concerned. What is the importance of the title of the play? And from this video lecture, we are going to understand that also. Number 4, the important events and turning points in the life of the protagonist and his ultimate realization of loss. Now, who is the protagonist? This is the most important question. Obviously, the meaning of the word protagonist is the central character. So, the central character of the play, who is Vasily Svetlovidov, as we have mentioned before, what happens in his life, this we are going to understand, and ultimately how he feels the loss that he has suffered. Then the next point is the clarification of the various themes in the play. This is again a major point that we are going to cover in this video lecture, and obviously an important question also. What are the different themes of the play? And lastly, the acceptance of old age and retirement, because old age and how a person suffers loss, nostalgia, and all other feelings of old age, those also we are going to cover, and rejection of any regret in life. Ultimately, a person must not feel any regret. That is what is an important theme again, which we are going to discuss in this video lecture. And before moving on with the title and the plot, characterization, etc., let us first talk about the playwright. And very briefly, the playwright, of course, is Anton Pavlovich Chekhov, who has written this one-act play. He is a world-renowned Russian short story writer and playwright of the late 19th and early 20th century. This is the period where he was actively writing. He emphasized the depths of human nature, the hidden significance of everyday events. Definitely, in this play also, we will see how Chekhov has studied the depth of the protagonist, Svitlovidov, and he has seen how events have affected him, his psychology. That is what he studies, and this is what he usually did in his writing. Then his signature style was a unique mix of comedy and tragedy. This is what he usually did, and in this play also, obviously it is a tragic play, there is no doubt about it, but he gives some touches of humor also. And then some important plays are given, like the Seagull, Uncle Vanya, Swan Song. Obviously this one we are going to do now, the Three Sisters, and the last play that he had written, the Cherry Orchard. Then he was, because he was also a short story writer, so there are a few short stories which got him a number of awards and recognitions. One of them was Ward number 6. Then there was The Lady with the Dog and The Steppe. So this was all about Anton Chekhov, and we move on to one of the most important things that we are going to cover in this video lecture, which is the title of the play, the Swan Song. So obviously we all know that the swan is a very beautiful bird, and you can see a picture of this swan on your screen also. It's a beautiful bird and considered to be highly spiritual also in a lot of mythologies, especially the Greek mythology. It has a lot of meaning. And when we read the story of this play, or when we read the plot, we realize how appropriately Chekhov has chosen this title. No other title would have suited this play more than this. The reason: Swan song is a term which is a metaphorical idiom basically for a final motion, effort, or presentation given before death. This is the final. Please remember, final is a very important word here. It is the final presentation, the last effort that somebody makes before it could be death, or as it is written here, it is generally used to refer to the last performance, gesture, work done, especially by an artist. So this term swan song is used mostly for artists because it symbolizes their last performance before their retirement or before their death. So this is used for artists mostly. But where did this originate? This term swan song, it originated first of all from Greek mythology, because in Greek mythology the swan was a bird consecrated to Apollo. Apollo is considered to be the highest god in Greek mythology, and this swan was a highly holy bird which was associated with Apollo himself, and it was therefore considered a symbol of harmony and beauty. But it did not have a good voice, so limited capabilities as a singer. So Swan was never known for some musical voice. Like there are so many birds, nightingales and cuckoo birds and other birds who have a very sweet voice, but Swan really does not have a very sweet voice, but it definitely has beauty. So Aristotle noted, firstly, it was Aristotle who noted in his History of Animals, this book that he had written, that swans are musical and sing chiefly at the approach of death. Even though the swan does not sing the whole of its life, when it approaches death, it sings musically. Now, this is such a strange thing to happen, and Aristotle himself said this. By the 3rd century BC, the belief had become a proverb. In Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice, so this metaphor, which started from the Greek philosophers, it moved on to Shakespeare also, because Shakespeare has also used it in The Merchant of Venice. Portia exclaims, "Let music sound while he doth make his choice. Then, if he lose, he makes a swan-like end, fading in music." Fading in music means to die in music, or to die while singing, because she is talking of Antonio, who might die, and if he dies, he will die like a swan in music. So here again it is a reference to the swan singing at the time of death. In general, such a work or performance is considered to be the best and most memorable. So if an artist performs his last performance and it is the most memorable performance before either retirement or death, then it is considered to be his or her best performance. In the play, Chekhov shows the last performance or the swan song of the central character, Svyatlavidov. In similar terms, the play The Cherry Orchard is Anton Chekhov's last play. So, just like for the protagonist, Svyatlavidov, he had given his last performance. It was his swan song. Similarly, Cherry Orchard, the play, the name we had just done, this was the last play written by Anton Chekhov himself. So we can say that this play, The Cherry Orchard, was the swan song of Chekhov. So this was all about the title of the play, how the title originated, from where it this proverb started, swan song, and lastly, why our playwright, which means Chekhov, has given this title to the play. The next slide takes us to the characterization, and this is also very important. So first of all, it is just a note which is written in blue over here that the play basically speaks about the ironies of life. Irony, irony means something which life gives us, and it is something strange or uncalled for, unexpected, जिसे हिंदी में विडंबना भी कहते हैं. तो जिंदगी की लाइफ की विडंबना जो है वो इस प्ले में दिखाई गई है. इन शॉर्ट, Chekhov is showing the dark and hidden side of a successful artist. So who is the central character, the protagonist of the play, Vasily Svetlovidov? He is a successful artist, but even though from the outside he looks to be very happy and successful and doing very well in his career, but he has a very dark and a hidden side because he is in a lot of distress. This dark side means he is in a lot of distress and sorrow also, and nobody can see that. So it is a hidden side of this successful artist. And so this is obviously Svetlovidov we are talking about, and we come to know about his hidden side from his interaction with the prompter Ivanich. So Svetlovidov becomes our first major character and Ivanich becomes our second major character. So let us study the first one. He is an aging actor. He is 68 years old. So this, I think it would be good if the students remember his exact age. Don't just say in your answers that he was an old man. Say exactly that he was 68 years old. Secondly, he played comic roles in most of his performances. He played the clown, he entertained the audience, and he made them laugh. And he was definitely very successful and he had a high repute as an actor. So people knew him, people appreciated him, and people cheered for him whenever he came on the stage. Here in the play, in the situation where we find Svetlovidov, he is reminiscing, which means he is remembering. Remembering what? He is remembering about his past and the roles that he had performed, the kind of success that he had gathered on stage as an actor, and the life which is all over now because all his glory is past, his youth is past. He is not as handsome as he used to be. So he is just reminiscing or he is remembering nostalgic about his past. This play also talks of this character thinking about or talking about his personal life. He says, and this is his greatest distress. This is his greatest sorrow, that his personal life is ruined in dedication towards his art. His beloved refused to marry him. And what kind of example do we find that his personal life is ruined? He had been an actor and his art ruined his personal life. The reason is because he used to love a girl and she refused to marry him, because the only reason was that he was an actor and she did not want to marry an actor. So he had no personal life at all. His character defines the sacrifices that must be observed in order to thrive in one's profession. So if you really want to thrive, which means you want to become successful in what you are doing, sometimes in your personal life, you have to make great sacrifices. This is what Svitlovidov did. And more about his character in the next slide. Here you can see, this is again moving on with his character only because he is the central character. This is the night. This is the night when he was honored on stage, because he had completed 45 years of his acting career, and this was the night when he was honored. His fans, they had cheered for him, but now he is alone. Now, when the night is over, the party is over, the cheering and the encouragement, motivation is all over. Now he is alone and he is also heavily drunk. And these are the lines that he says which prove that this night is over now. The audience has gone. The audience called me out 16 times. They brought me 3 wreaths. Wreaths are flowers, bouquets, and lots of other things too. They were all wild with enthusiasm. And yet, not a soul came when it was all over to wake the poor drunken old man and take him home. This is what he is lamenting. This is what he is sorrowful about. It reflects his sorrow, these lines. The reason is that people cheered for him, but they left him alone, and this loneliness is troubling him now. In the next point, he says that, how he is feeling. He's feeling broken, helpless, lonely, sorrowful. All these words are so important, and you must use them while describing his character. And he says, I am alone. I am all alone there. I have nobody. Nikitushka. He is talking to Ivanich and he calls him Nikitushka. No wife, no children. I am like the wind blowing across the lonely fields. See how lonely he feels because he has no family at all. And this is, he says, I'm all alone. And this troubles him and he feels so sorrowful right now. He believes that his days as an actor are over and he has no will left to go on. He does not want to carry on even on the stage. He believes that his career is over. Then he was if when he remembers his past, what does he tell the audience? He tells the audience that he was a fine, handsome young man, and there were so many women who loved him. So he remembers his youth and his beauty and the love he got from women. He had served in the army. Now, this is also another important detail, that he had served in the army, in the artillery, and it was a very honorable career. When he was in the army, it was an honorable career, but now, after he left the army, he thinks he degraded himself by joining the theater or by acting on stage, because this was a degradation, he says. Ah, but I was a great artist once, till little by little I threw away my talents, played the motley fool. Motley fool means the character of the clown, lost my looks. He is not handsome anymore because he was so proud of his handsomeness. that so many women loved him, appreciated him, were attracted to him. But now he says, I lost my looks, lost the power of expressing myself. So he basically thinks that even in career also there was a degradation. Degradation means that he really came down from being in the army to becoming an actor, and from becoming an actor to playing the role of the clown. Moving on, you can see here in front of you more points about the character of Sweet Lovidov. He passionately wishes to gain back the vigor of his youth. He wants to become that young man again, but he knows it is not possible, and he recites lines from Shakespeare and Pushkin. Now, these two you really have to remember, that when he is remembering his past, he begins to recite dialogues from the plays of Shakespeare and also from the plays of Alexander Pushkin, and he does it with great beauty, great aplomb. At that moment, he realizes that his art is not dead yet. The way he can recite his lines, it shows that he is a great artist. Even though he is old now, he says, ah, there is strength, there is talent for you. I am a great artist. The only audience of this performance is Nikita Ivanich, who heartily praises his swan song. Now, see this performance which he has given right now on stage, reciting so many dialogues, but there is only one person who is hearing. And who is that one person? It is the prompter Nikita Ivanich, and it is almost as if Nikita has seen the swan song by Svetlovidov. However, soon the realization of his old age again returns, and it breaks him. So, but he's happy here that he has not lost his art. He can say these dialogues so perfectly. But then suddenly he also realizes that things are not going to be the same again, because he is an old man and he is a broken man. He wishes to leave, and the curtain falls. The falling of the curtain, it marks the end. It could be the end of his life, it could be the end of his career, whatever, but the curtain finally falls. Now we are going to discuss the second character, who is Nikita Ivanich, and he is important because only because of this character do we come to know so much about Svetlovidov. So who is Nikita? He is an old prompter. And who is a prompter? A prompter is a person who remains out of sight of the audience and provides the lines of dialogues to the performing actors. So when there is an actor on stage, and maybe he suddenly or she suddenly forgets some lines, because the on the stage everything is live, you don't have any retakes. So if the actor forgets a line, there is a prompter who tries to tell the actor which line he has missed. So a prompter himself knows all the dialogues, because his work is, his job is to give lines of dialogues to the performing artist. This is what Nikita Ivanich has done. He is a poor man, homeless, who sleeps in the dressing room after the theater closes. So why is he here at night? Sweet Lovidov is here on stage at night because he was drunk. But Nikita is here on stage because he has nowhere to sleep, and he usually sleeps in the dressing rooms. But today, because Svidlovidov has seen him, he is afraid that he would inform the theater owner about him. But this is indirectly he becomes an audience to Svetlovidov's performance. As you can see in the next slide, here it is written that Svetlovidov calls him Nikitushka. We have seen in one of the dialogues also So he lovingly calls him Nikitushka, and he calls the actor master. Nikita calls Svetlovidov master. He is a very tender and respectful person. Nikita is a very, soft spoken person, very respectful towards Svetlovidov, and reassures him that the audience still loves him. So when Svetlovidov says that nobody loves me, my days are over, my career is over, it is Ivanich who tells him that no, master, the audience loves him, you are great, you are a great actor. And so he reassures Svetlovidov. Ivanich is scared when Svetlovidov turns pale and sits on a stool in distress. So he really easily gets scared. He is a weak hearted fellow, and he cries. He cries bitterly when he sees what this old actor is going through. When Svetlovidov starts reciting the lines of King Lear, Ivanich also supports him and recites the lines of the Fool. So in between, Svetlovidov starts reciting lines from King Lear, Shakespeare's play, and Ivanich himself starts reciting lines of the Fool. He is the sole audience of Svetlovidov's brilliant performance and follows behind him as he walks off the stage. So when Svetlovidov leaves the stage, Ivanich also follows him. This is his role. There are these characters which I have written here in red. So this could be the third, the fourth, and the fifth characters, but they don't appear on stage. They never appear on stage, only their names are heard. That is why only their names are written here. Yegorka and Petrushka are two stage attendants. And when Svetlovidov had come out of the dressing room, he was just calling their names. That is why we know the names of these two men. And the last character is Alexei Fomich. Basically, he is the owner of the theater. And Nikita tells Svetlovidov that please don't tell Alexei Fomich that I sleep here in the dressing rooms. That is why we come to know the name of this character also. If children find it difficult to remember their names, it's okay, because they are really minor characters. They don't even appear on the stage. Now we move on to the plot of the play, and this is very important again, because the plot is basically how the story of the play develops. It is derived from a short story by the author himself. Author here, we mean to say Chekhov himself. So Chekhov has taken the story from his own, the story of this play from his own short story called Calchas. It is basically on the life of an aging actor tortured by love in young age and ended up suffering from pain in his aging days. So in this story also, Chekhov had talked of an old actor and how love tortured him in young age. So because it is almost the same theme here, the old actor in our play is Vasily Svetlovidov, and this is his last performance which we have seen, and we know that he is 68-year-old. We also must know that he has spent 45 years of his life on stage, acting and entertaining audience. His career has been really successful, and he has had a number of achievements also in his acting career. But the problem is that his present condition, which means in his old age, his present condition is pitiable. He is not happy, he is sorrowful, and it is a pitiable condition. He wakes up to find himself sleeping in the dressing room. So when the play opens, he wakes up and he finds that he is sleeping in the dressing room. He is not in his home. after having drunk a lot at the end of his performance. So it was a special performance today in his honor, and after drinking too much, he just slept, and now he has woken up. He staggers onto the empty stage. It is important to see that the stage is completely empty because the audience has gone and the old actor is alone, and he finds that the spectators and other performers also, other actors also who were with him, they have already left. Then what happens? He begins to reminisce about the past and the roles that he has performed, and suddenly Nikita Ivanich comes. He is the prompter, and he comes to cheer him up because the old actor is almost on the point of breaking down. He is so sorrowful that Nikita comes to cheer him up and shows a lot of compassion towards him. He is so soft when he talks to Svet Lovidov. He comforts him. Ivanich is also old and homeless. We have done this in the character. He sleeps in the theater itself, and he and Svetlovidov, both of them are almost in the same situation. Both of them are old, both of them are lonely, and both of them find themselves in the theater together. Svetlovidov, he regrets the personal sacrifice he has made. Why has he made so many sacrifices? He thinks about it now. He is unmarried, lonely, old, neglected, and frustrated. So, all of this because his personal life has really suffered. There is a sense of despair, sadness, and failure in his old age. He feels that no, even though people think that I am successful, he considers himself to be a failure. He remembers how a charming and rich woman had fallen in love with him when he was at the peak of his success. At that time, he was so successful. He was young and he was successful, and he was an actor of huge acclaim, an actor of acclaim at that time when this woman had fallen in love. Svetlovidov also loved her and wants to marry her, but she asks him to quit his acting career. But what is her condition? Her condition is that उसकी शर्त है that he should leave his acting career. She considered acting as a low profile profession, even though she loves the actor. But she says, no, you have to leave your acting because this is not a profession of high standard. He had once been in the army, the artillery, and he was handsome and brave, but now he thinks he is too low, too low. The reason, especially the reason, is that the lady love rejected him because of his profession. Then the story moves on. He realizes the absurdity of the world and consoles himself by talking about the universal strength and death defying power of the art of acting. See how acting and art, they have so much strength. They make the actor immortal. Why do we say that art makes the actor or the artist immortal? Because even though the man dies, his art survives. So he just tells himself कोई बात नहीं, अगर वो लड़की उसे छोड़कर चली गई, the reason is that he loves his profession of acting. Artists or stage actors are mere entertainments, but the problem is the society considers them just entertainers. Then there is no social respect and prestige. At least at that time when this play was written, this was the truth about the society, that artists did not have any social respect and prestige. He overcomes his grief, which shows that art finally triumphs over personal tragedy. So, this man, Vasily Svitlovidov, he overcomes his grief means he stops thinking about the lady, and ultimately art wins. Triumphs means art wins. He recites lines from Shakespeare, Othello, King Lear, and also from the plays of Alexander Pushkin. So these are two writers, and he recites lines from their plays. His own vigor inspires and motivates him. So there is such an excitement. There is so much vigor in his heart that he feels motivated, and he starts reciting those beautiful lines, and he has the passion to continue acting. From his vigor, we realize that he wishes to continue acting. In a way, this recital of dialogues in front of Nikita is his last and most touching performance. It is his swan song. So, if you get a question कि वसीली स्वित लोविडोफ का स्वॉन सॉन्ग था क्या वो परफॉर्मेंस थी जो उसने स्टेज पर बहुत सारी ऑडियंस के सामने उस रात को दी, या फिर ये परफॉर्मेंस जो उसने निकिता के सामने अभी अभी दी. So this performance which he had given in front of Nikita Ivanich when nobody else was around, and he recited dialogues from Othello and King Lear, this was actually his swan song. Nikita cries bitterly. So his acting was so beautiful that Nikita starts crying bitterly and says, "Yes, you have genius, genius, my master." But he carries an emptiness. The problem with Svetlovidov is that his acting is perfect, but there is so much sorrow in his broken heart. Absurdity in the speech and life of Svetlovidov. Why? Because he talks of acting as giving a life, but he himself has actually given up upon life. So there is a lot of absurdity in what he says, and ultimately the curtain falls. So when the curtain falls, the play ends, and at the same time, the actor has given up the stage. So this was all about the plot of the play, and moving on, we come to the important themes. So, there are four important themes that we are going to discuss. The first theme, as you can see in front of you, death and old age, very important. So, with Lovidov, he is old. We have said this earlier also two times that he was 68 years old, and he had spent 45 long years on stage, which is a considerable time. But old age has diminished his enthusiasm and strength. He is no longer able to perform like he used to do. Even though people love him even now, he knows that he is not the way he was before. He almost feels worthless. So he is filled with feelings of being worthless. Now at last the old actor realizes that nobody needs him as a human being, even though people love the actor, but nobody cares for him as a human being. He is all alone. So he has no wife and no children, and there is nobody to take care of him. He feels himself all alone, like an outcast. What is the meaning of outcast? Who has no place in society. So he believes that because he's an actor, he is an outcast, and he says these are lines which Svetlovidov himself says, and he says, "My audience has gone home. They are all asleep and have forgotten their old clown. No, nobody needs me. Nobody loves me. I have no wife, no children." This is his lament, and he knows that time has come to leave his acting career. So basically, old age makes him realize that it is time that he should stop going upon the stage. old age is depicted as an emotionally draining phenomena. So this man is totally drained emotionally, he is lost emotionally, and there is a constant reminder of impending death, which means that death can come anytime, and it is a reminder of impending death. Now we come to the second theme, which is the reminiscence of lost years and the regret for the past. So there is a lot of nostalgia here. Nostalgia means there is a lot of memory associated with the past. So you think of the past and you feel sad, and there is regret, which our central character Svetlovidov is feeling throughout the drama. Svetlovidov is remembering his past achievements, his glory, the choices and mistakes that he has made in his life. So he is totally thinking about the past. He cherishes the memory of his youth. He is sad because he cannot bring back the years that are gone. So whenever we think of our youth or our childhood, we the most threatening regret that we have, it is that that time which has gone, it can never come back. Moreover, he is proud of his performances, but he regrets the fact that he has spent such a long time on stage while he could have picked any other respectable career. His problem is that people don't consider his career to be respectable, and he remembers how he's saying these lines: I served in the army, in the artillery, before I fell as low as this. So this word low is important. And he says, and what a fine young chap I was. I remember it all now. 45 years of my life lie buried there. And what a life. So now his past is like buried. It is dead. So, if we look back on our life when we get old, the feeling of regret over few things of the past is universal. Everybody feels that. Universal means everybody feels the same thing. So when we all look back at our past, there are certain things that we feel sad about and we regret. Now, moving on to the third theme, it is the attitude of society towards his profession of acting. By now, you have come to know that even though people loved him, they did not respect his acting career. So, this disrespect that people showed towards this career, this is also a theme. So Chekhov has successfully managed to display the socio-cultural acceptance of actors through the story of Svetlovidov. Even though an artist's performance was lauded and appreciated on stage, lauded means people praised and appreciated an artist on stage, the profession itself was looked down upon. In the play, Svetlovidov too receives love, but only for his work, not as a human being. The girl with whom he was deeply in love set up a condition that he would sacrifice his acting career if they were to get married. So he had to choose between his love and his career, and ultimately he chose his career. He says, enraptured, intoxicated, I fell on my knees before her. Who is her? Her is the girl whom Svetlovidov loves. He says, I begged for my happiness and she said, give up the stage. This thing, these last words that the girl said to him, they affected him deeply. Because the reason, because he remained unmarried throughout his life. So, he did not change his career, but he remained unmarried because this dialogue, this line which the girl said, it deeply affected him. And now this is the last theme of the play which we are discussing here. It is the acceptance of reality. Ultimately, we cannot live in the past. So Svetlovidov remembers his past, he cries about it, but he knows that he has to come back in the present and he has to accept. So finally, at the end of the drama, Svetlovidov realized that the time for him to leave the stage had come. It is the reality. You have to leave your stage. He accepted that old age had engulfed his enthusiasm and abilities. His swan song had been sung. It is almost, you can say, that his race had been run, his swan song had been sung, which means it is all over now. This acceptance of reality helped him to cope with his present condition, and he says, I am not old. All that is foolishness, nonsense. And he starts laughing. Where there is art and genius, there can never be such things as old age or loneliness or sickness, and death itself is half. So now he is not regretting, he is not crying, he is laughing, and he says it's okay. I accept the reality, but art can never die, genius can never become old. The playwright highlights the importance and necessity of acceptance instead of focusing on what is lost and is buried in the past. So here I end my presentation because I have talked about all the important things that I had promised at the beginning of the video. But before finishing off, we are going to discuss some multiple choice questions from whatever we have done in this video lecture. The first question: when was this play Swan Song written? Was it in 1889, 1989, 1802, or none of the above? What is the age of the actor Svetlovidov? Is it 78, 68, 38, or 48? Third, Nikita Ivanich works in the theatre as a, which means his profession. Is he a junior artist, an assistant, a director, or a prompter? Question number 4. Before becoming an actor, Svetlovidov served in the, what work did he do? What job? Was he in the Air Force units, the artillery? He was in the Artists Union, or none of the above. The roles for which the actor won acclaim. Svetlovidov won acclaim success for negative roles, warrior roles, comic roles, or none of the above. Sixth, the young woman refused to marry Svetlovidov because he was not loyal to her. B. He was not rich. C. He was not handsome. And D. Because he was an actor. Seventh question. Svetlovidov recites lines from the works of which famous writers? So two writers. Was it Pushkin and Shakespeare? Pushkin and Dostoevsky? Shakespeare and Chekhov? Shakespeare and Dostoevsky. Last three questions. Question number 8. Where does Ivanich live? Was it with Svetlovidov? With Alexei Fomich? He lived outside the theatre? Or he lived in the dressing rooms? Question number 9. Which short story of Chekhov was adapted in the play Swan Song? Was it the Shakespeare's tale, or his own story named Catches, his own previous play, The Actor, or was it a folk tale? Question number 10. Which play is regarded as Chekhov's swan song as a playwright? So which play is it? Is it Ivanov? Is it The Seagull? Is it The Cherry Orchard, or none of the above? So these are 10 multiple choice questions. I hope you would be able to answer them if you have listened to this video lecture with attention, and after giving you some references from which the information of this video lecture was taken, I finally say thank you to you, and I hope that this lecture has been of some use to you while you do your play. All the best. Thank you.